I think just being a male survivor, I think there's a big stigma. I just sort of just buried it and suppressed it, I suppose.
It was decades before Lee felt able to talk about the abuse he suffered as a child.
The abuse started when I was a teenager, and it took me until I was around 30 to fully come to grips with it. There is still, even now, the idea that, you know, men should be strong, men should be not showing vulnerability in the same way that that a female might be able to, society, you know, in terms of societal norms.
And when Lee was ready to get help, he found it hard to come by.
It was only in therapy when I reported the abuse that I was able to get the information regarding different helplines, which I used, and with mixed results really. Sometimes I felt I wasn't understood in the way that it resonated with me.
For Lee, Safeline was different, the only dedicated helpline for male survivors of sexual abuse in England and Wales.
When I got the information sent to me that it's a male survivor helpline, that's one less barrier for me to share my abuse. From the first call, I felt really heard, understood, validated.
Safeline's helpline is entirely paid for by the government, which gives them £250,000 a year in funding. Funding that the government is to cut next month, forcing the helpline to close.
I mean, that's a huge amount of money for a charity to have to raise.
Last year, Safeline supported 2,000 male survivors. The government says there are other gender-neutral helplines available.
So they tell us, obviously they need to save money, and they tell us that there is suitable alternative provision out there. But we'd say there isn't. What they're not understanding, I think, is the help-seeking behaviours of males. Female survivors very rarely talk about the actual abuse itself, whereas male survivors will, and they'll talk about it quite matter-of-fact, which is a coping strategy, as if it was happening to someone else, but it means they can be quite graphic. And what we've heard many times in our helpline, that men have tried other helplines and they've been told, you're inappropriate, we're going to ban you.
Media coverage of the Church of England abuse scandal sparked a 60% increase in calls last year. Liz Harrison says demand is growing year on year.
What's really encouraging, we're seeing an increase in young male survivors coming forward, because if male survivors can get the support that they need as soon as they can, that helps to limit the long-term consequences of abuse, which can permeate through every aspect of your life.
Liz fears the closure could have tragic consequences.
Male survivors will go unsupported and lives will be lost. And I say that because 10% of the male survivors using our service say it stopped them self-harming and taking their own lives.
The Ministry of Justice told us they recognise the vital role that organisations like Safeline play, but they inherited a criminal justice system under immense pressure and must make difficult decisions. Lee has been a regular caller to Safeline for 4 years now.
My mental health is very fragile. I think it's going to be a lifelong process, my recovery, but I feel more empowered. I feel like I can own my experience and not feel defined by it.
For Lee, it's been a lifeline. And if you have been affected by any of the issues in that report, you can seek help by going to channel4.com/support.